Star Trek, the next generation. Your love throughout the nation. You're my favourite show. Was in every episode you're lucky. You don't have to wait for buses. You just step into the transporter and off you boldly go. Mr. Wolf's my favourite person.
Welcome to the bOrgCast. We are the Org, and our purpose is to assimilate seasons 2 to 7 of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Hello!
Hello!
We return.
Yay!
We're going towards the end now of the third season of Star Trek. We spoke last week about how I found a thing on Tumblr that talked about how Gates McFadden had said that it was Maurice Hurley that effectively got us sacked, and you found that corroborated in a...
Yeah, no, it was... You found something on Tumblr, and then Dimbo Sama said that the culprit was Maurice Hurley. And we've got a book called Star Trek 365, and in there, Rick Berman categorically states that Maurice Hurley fired her.
So there we are.
It's a good book, that, by the way. I recommend it.
Yes, what is Star Trek
365.
Yes,
it?
lots of nice pickies. It's a bit chunky. It's the only thing hard to hold.
Yeah.
But it is very good.
If the cat's on my lap when I'm reading it, I do worry about bopping him on the head with it and doing him an injury, it has to be said.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Shall we move on to today's episode?
Yes.
Hurrah, it's Sarek.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation, Sarek returns to the Enterprise.
Live long and prosper.
But his mental powers trigger a mysterious outbreak of violence.
What the hell is going on here?
I wish I knew!
Sarek may be projecting intense emotions onto other people.
And the only way to stop it is to jeopardize Picard's life.
No!
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
So, another spoilery trailer.
Just a tad.
Just a tad, giving away the whole plot, but never mind. Hopefully you've already seen this, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We have the Enterprise is welcoming Perrin and Sarek, Perrin being his new wife, for a conference with some Ligarians, who sadly we never get to see, but...
I don't think it's sadly, given the goop they're preparing in the tank for them,
yeah,
I'm really glad.
They're obviously some sort of amphibian-type creature. I mean, it sounds really interesting, and it's only... It would be a big disappointment you didn't get to see him if the episode wasn't so stunning, so... Doesn't matter.
No, but I just think that with the effects and everything that were around then, you would have been disappointed with whatever it is they've produced.
Or you're already thinking that was season 2 episode. Is it Manhunt with the weird fish
exactly.
people?
That's the sort of thing I was thinking.
Yeah.
I just think that these days you could do it with CG, but then with the effects available, I think if they'd actually produced those aliens, it would have been a disappointment. So I'm glad they made the decision they did not to.
Mm-hmm. Riker and Picard are going to meet the dignitaries as they arrive in the transport room, and they're sporting those so charming dress uniforms that look so naff.
I prefer them to the hideous white ones in Insurrection.
No, I prefer the white ones, because the white ones have trousers, don't they? They don't have the...
Those have trousers. They're just long tunics over the top of trousers.
Well, no, they've got tights on underneath their...
I thought they were trousers.
No.
They're tights?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Looks horrible. And
I didn't realise they were tights. I assumed it was a long tunic over trousers.
No. It's embarrassing looking.
Ah.
They do change them later on to trousers, but not yet.
Okay, so maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying that much attention because I don't do that sort of thing. I don't like the white ones. They're just... no.
The colour isn't so good, but the actual design is much better than what they're currently sporting. Anyway, first of all, to beam over is a dude called Mendrozen and a Vulcan called Sakef. And they sort of lay down some ground rules for Sarek's visit, saying that there can't be any festivities, and basically Sarek is going to stay in seclusion for the period of his visit. So it's like the mystery is already panning out here. And Picard's slightly disappointed because they'd arranged a concert, but there we go. And then as soon as Sarek beams across, he wants to go and view the conference room, and his aides are like, no, not yet. But Sarek is clearly annoyed at his aides' worry for him, which is, again, slightly ominous thing, because you don't expect Sarek to get annoyed at anything. And that's how the episode ends. So perhaps not the most exciting endings unless you know something about, Vulcans and Sarek to start with.
But even if you don't, I think the fact that the aides are fussing would ring alarm bells anyway.
Yeah.
I have to say, I find... Is it Mendoza or Mendozan? I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, it's a key Mendozan, I think he's introduced as, but it could be Mendozan, I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, him, I found him annoying.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be. He's just slightly officious. I mean, he's doing it for the best of reasons.
Oh, yes, but no, I don't like him.
Then, after the teaser, we got Geordie and Wes inspecting the pool for the Ligurians, and Wes lets slip that he has a date. And then Sarek arrives and fusses around, and he's been pretty crotchety. Again, not what you would expect.
No.
It would appear the concert's going ahead, despite the fact that Sarek isn't going to be present. But Troi suggests that Picard might invite Perrin to attend.
Which is a good idea. Mm-hmm. I've just noticed that your iPad has corrected Sarek to safekeeping.
Yes. Curious, isn't it? All the way through this is my first time using my iPad to make notes. And all the way away, I was wrestling with the autocorrect.
Or predictive sex, as our friend calls it.
Indeed, predictive sex, yes. Perrin says that she doubts that Sarek will be able to attend, but she'd be more than happy to. And then when Picard leaves, she goes in to see Sarek, and it's revealed he hasn't been able to meditate for ages now. And I just couldn't help noticing, mostly Perrin's outfit's all right, but she's got the world's chunkiest big plastic rings ever.
Well, see, her outfit reminded me of the Vedics in Deep Space Nine, with the funny headgear and all the rest of it.
Well, it's obviously kind of based on Sarek's first wife's outfit, so it's...
Well, yes, it's presumably the outfit of his wife, as in, you know what I mean, like the ambassador's wife. A bit like, I don't know, the Duke of Edinburgh probably has certain outfits he has to wear, kind of thing.
Dress uniforms, actually, but it's probably not worth bearing on...
No, but...
dwelling on that.
No, but I assumed that was the thinking behind her wearing old clothes.
Yep. Then we cut back to Geordie and Wes, and they basically have a massive row. And Wes actually gets the better of it, because Geordie's saying, oh, well, I don't know why you're going on that date tonight, you won't get anywhere. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're the great expert on women, aren't you, Mr. Holodeck?
But I love Geordie's comeback. The entire crew knows more about women than you do. Yes. It's like, yeah.
He drops a few zingers, doesn't he?
He does.
And it has to be said that Geordie doesn't really ever come back to that, but there we are. But it's obviously really odd that they're arguing. Apparently, we also find out with a conversation between Picard and Riker that Worf's put some exceptional ensign on report, which they're a bit concerned about as well. And then Sarek ends up attending the concert, but it's a brilliant scene because of the music. It's really well chosen. Data's performing with the orchestra, or whatever you call it. It's not really an orchestra, there's only about 4 of them, isn't it? But anyway,
well, it's a chamber orchestra, isn't it?
But whilst he's watching it, Sarek at one point a tear goes down his face and he has to leave quite quickly afterwards. And it's very good because it's done very subtly. It's not overplayed at all. But
I also like the acting from Marina Sirtis and Patrick Stewart and whoever it is who plays Perrin, the way they react to his single tear, it's not overdone. You can see their concern and their glances and the lovely gesture of Perrin just wiping away the tear. It's not, oh no, do you know what I mean? And lesser actors could have overdone it, and I don't think any of them do.
No,
I like the exchanges from all of them.
Wes goes to see his mom, who balls him out over not attending the concert.
And slaps him! Yay! Brilliant.
Whack in the face.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's really shocking that when you first see it. It's like, whoa.
Is it?
Yes.
I just wanted to do it myself.
You know what? I knew you'd say that. Disgraceful. Anyway, she goes to see Troi about it because she realises that she completely overreacted.
Well, no.
And indeed has never hit him once. So
not only that, but you think about it logically. Which parent, even nowadays, never mind the 24th century, slaps a teenager? But, I can understand why she's gone to see Troi over it, definitely.
And Troi says that she's hearing this story a lot from various members of the crew. Then Data's giving Sakef a tour, and he's asking if Picard and Troi have any diplomatic background, which raises Data's suspicions.
Yeah.
Brian and Geordie get involved in a massive fight in 10 Forward.
Oh, that's brilliant.
With much smashings of tables and people being hurled across the room.
Oh, I love it.
It's great.
There's one brilliant shot where you don't see anybody's faces. There's obviously just 2 extras. One guy picks another guy up by the scruff of the neck and literally rams him head first into the bar. Yeah. Brilliant.
Meet the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Riker and Worf are sort of wandering along a corridor leading up to 10 forward, and Riker's saying, why have you put this ensign on a report? He's like, well, they challenged me, blah, blah, blah. And then Riker says, have you noticed that people are overreacting a bit at the moment? And the door opens and they see the fight, and it's like, no, I hadn't noticed. It's brilliant. Crusher and Troi have now figured out that it's probably Sarek who's the cause of this, because everything kicked off when he came aboard. And there isn't a rare condition called Bendai syndrome, which leads to loss of emotional control, and it may be Sarek projecting random emotions that people are picking up on and reacting the way they are. And there's a worry that Ligarians may be affected as well, so this has put the whole conference in jeopardy. First of all, they approach Mendrosen, who denies it all. And then Picard sends Data to speak to Sakaf, which is a very cunning plan because, of course, Vulcans can't lie.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he's avoiding lying by avoiding, answering the question, basically. But in the end, has to admit that the mission is in jeopardy. And it transpires that Sakaf has been masking Sarek's emotions up till now, but the stress of the mission is basically too much, and he can't mask them anymore. And then we get an argument between Riker and Picard, which is fairly shocking as well.
Don't you tell me what to do!
Picard confronts Perrin, and she denies everything. But then Sarek walks in, and he wants to take away any fears Picard may have. So he offers to be tested, but the problem is the test would take too long to come through for the results. So then Picard challenges Sakaf and says, have you been masking these emotions? And obviously Sakaf can't lie, so he has to circuitously say that he has indeed. And that does not please Sarek at all. And so Sarek sends everybody out, and again he's trying to persuade Picard there's nothing wrong actually, but Picard confronts him about the tear at the concert, and Sarek basically ends up losing his temper and then breaks down, which is just a brilliant acting job from Mark Leonard. Perrin goes in to see Picard and begs him not to expose Sarek because it's supposed to be his last ever mission. They want him to retire on a high sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's had such a distinguished career, it would be a shame for this to come out and expose the fact that he's got this what's basically for Vulcans a shameful condition. And she basically admits that they've deceived themselves that he could complete this last mission. So it's not that they're being evil, they wanted him to do it too much. Yeah, they thought
he could do one last mission, which you can understand, have him go out on a high and then deal with it.
Yeah. Picard says, well, there's nothing I can do about it, I can't risk the mission, but then it's suggested that he has a mind meld with Sarek, which would give Sarek some control, but will have the downside will be that it will expose Picard to extreme Vulcan emotions. So basically Picard ends up in a room with Crusher monitoring him, and you have the mind meld, and then the next scene is basically Sarek just walking down the corridor really completely in control of himself.
And he looks taller.
Yeah, he bears himself a lot straighter, whereas before he's been all bowed down.
Yeah.
Now he's walking tall, literally, and Riker's sort of walking alongside him, and he refers to him as number one, and it's clear that there's quite a bit of Picard in him at the moment, actually, which is really, really well played. But that's then contrasted straight away with a scene with Picard, and he's just full of anger and grief, and it's just, wow.
Perrin. A man. I wanted to give you so much more. I wanted to show you such tenderness. But that is not our way. Spock. Amanda. Did you know? Perrin, can you know how much I love you? I do love you.
It's an amazing acting performance all round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really moving.
Particularly moving is when he mentions not just Perrin, but his feelings for her, but also Spock.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a huge argument over whether they were going to mention Spock or not. The producer didn't want Spock mentioned. There was this idea that, no, we're not going to lean on the old series, which I think was Ira Stephen Bear was trying to push for the mention of Spock. And it's like, well, you had McCoy in the the first, the pilot. Why is it suddenly a problem now?
But also, if he's breaking down and you're getting his emotions and his regrets or guilt or, the things that normally he doesn't have to do, surely that's going to come up.
Yeah, there would have been a Spock-shaped hole otherwise in this episode. So it's just a one mention, and that's all they needed to do.
And it's done as Spock and Amanda, isn't it? It's not just done as Spock on his own either, but it's really well done.
So, I mean, that acting performance from Patrick Stewart is up there with his... It made me think very much of Brothers, the 4th season one, straight after Best of Both Worlds, where he loses it with his brother.
I don't remember that one too well. I just remember lots of vines.
Right, yes. Well, it's similarly heartrending, really. I mean, when Patrick Stewart turns on the acting chops, wow. So, yes, and the episode basically finishes with Vulcans leaving. Picard tells Perrin that Sarek loves him, and she says she knows. And basically then Sarek turns up and gives Picard a salute. And it's really, a stunning episode.
It is.
I think, certainly in terms of acting performances, it's the best episode so far. I would argue I still slightly prefer The Defector, just because, it's also got some really good performances, but it's got a lot more action, and this particular episode doesn't need the action. I mean, other than the fist fight in 10 Forward, which is brilliant. The acting carries the rest of it through, but ultimately it's an awful lot of people talking to one another, sat in conference rooms, basically.
Yeah, but it's an emotional rather than an action story,
exactly,
isn't it? It's different.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it clearly is just amazing. Really works well. One of the best Next Gen episodes, undoubtedly.
For me, trying to compare this to Defector is very much chalk and cheese. You're not.
Yes, you are probably.
Like with like.
But there are similarities in terms of the intensity of the performances, I think.
Yeah, it's just that for me, I would say the Defector is more enjoyable.
Yes,
but that's because this is a very moving episode.
It is. I mean, if you've got any relatives that are suffering from dementia, obviously it's immediately ringing bells with you. I mean, that's obviously what they were tying into it, and specifically, actually, Michael Pyler said that, I mean, they were tying into the fact that Gene Roddenberry was at this point losing his mental faculties a bit, and he says if you go back and look at Sarek closely, what that character is Gene Roddenberry, which is actually quite touching.
Yeah.
Mark Lenard obviously will return in Unification one last time.
Yeah, do they actually do anything about the fact he's got bendy?
I think it's what kills the character off in the end. I think he's and from what little I remember of Unification, the start sort of hinges on the fact that he's dying, basically, and
right.
He wants to get a message to Spock or something, doesn't he? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen that one as well.
It does make me wonder, and this isn't so much to have a debate, but it's just I find it interesting that if this was being aired first time now, I reckon you'd have something in there about assisted dying. And I reckon you'd have something in there about him being given the dignity to take his own life.
I don't know.
Whereas then you just have the rather bleak thing, well, there's medical research going on.
Yeah, they're hoping to find a cure, they say at the end, but as I think as we find out, actually that doesn't happen in his lifetime anyway. I'm just thinking particularly about, with Terry Pratchett, but also just generally I think the culture has changed, and I think these days that episode would have something in there, I think, about assisted dying. There is an episode later on that deals with it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but
yes, there is. There's a really, really good one with that guy from MASH in it. Yeah. But
I think the one later is different because it's you have to kill yourself at 60.
Yes. Which is
not the same as somebody having the desire to end their life with dignity. It's not.
I can't remember. It's more complicated than that. But anyway,
no, it is.
We will get to that eventually. Gosh, we're rushing ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
Shall we find out what Pieman thinks of this?
Yes.
A tried and tested next generation technique for making a good episode is to at some point give Patrick Stewart a really meaty bit of acting and let him run with it.
Yeah.
Not a criticism. It is always good to see them letting such a good actor stretch himself, and Picard holding all of Sarek's pent-up emotion is really well done. As for the rest of the episode, good idea and a good story. Mark Lenard is, as expected, good as Sarek. He works well with Picard, and the confrontation between the two of them makes for a great scene. The crew slowly going nuts is fun as well. We see the normally sedate crew getting angry and starting fights. Someone even finally slaps Wesley. I'm amazed there wasn't a Q. Sarek is making us all really angry with Wesley, honest. The idea behind the episode is interesting too. The idea of almost contagious telepathic illness is a good one and is pretty well realised. Overall, very good stuff.
Yep.
Definitely. Okay, well that was the one I remember quite well. Now to move on to Menage a Troi.
I have a feeling I'm going to need more beer.
We shall see.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Transport 4, immediately.
Troi and her mother are kidnapped by the evil Ferengi.
Your telepathic powers could bring us both great profit.
And a devious plan could rob them of their telepathic abilities.
Give her to me.
Now, Riker's the only one who can stop their deadly experiment.
We have to help her.
Get away from her.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
So that trailer doesn't give away much plot twists, but it doesn't do it any favours either. I mean, all the good lines are in it. Not one features in the trailer, but never mind.
No. I didn't remember this, which is why I said I was going to do it. And then they had in the teaser that fucking weird looking alien playing the wind chime. Oh, bollocky music, bollocky alien, and my heart sank. It has its head. I thought, oh great. But actually, I like this episode. I would never claim it's brilliant, but I like it. Basically, there's been a trade conference, and Picard has allowed the Ferengi, who were involved in the conference and, by all accounts, behaved themselves during. Picard has allowed them onto the Enterprise for the closing ceremony, which basically involves fuck off ugly alien playing bollocks on wind chimes, and not a lot else. One of the Ferengi has the hots for Lwaxana Troi, but there's a lovely exchange where he's like all trying to chat her up, and she just calls him a troll, and it's brilliant.
Lwaxana Troi, I desire you.
What?
You see, your Betazoid skills would be very useful to me, and I find you very attractive. I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I don't believe this.
You must be aware that every female has her price.
Let's get one thing straight, little man.
I am not for sale. And if, by some chance, I were to become available, I would rather eat Orion wing slugs than deal with a toad-faced troll like you. So go away and find yourself somebody else to become your property.
Even though she's like called him a troll, he's still like, oh, she's an admirable woman. And then you get this exchange between Lwaxana and Deanna, where Lwaxana's going, you know, how dare he? I'm daughter of the 5th House of Beta Z, holder of the Sacred Chalice of Reeks. And Deanna goes, yeah, but the Sacred Chalice of Reeks is an old mouldy clay pot, which, you know, I like. And then they have a row because Lwaxana wants Troi to marry and have children. And as far as Lwaxana is concerned, that's the only way Troi can be happy. And Troi is trying to explain that she's happy as she is. She's chosen her career, and the Enterprise is her family, and she isn't unhappy. And it's just like, treat me as an adult. Stop calling me little one. You called me that when I was 5. And, you know, allow me to make my own choices, even if they're not the choices you would make for me. And then you get this really odd scene in Picard's ready room, which you described as a mutual wanking.
Yes, it's like, oh, you did very well there, Wesley, doing such and such. Oh, no, well, if it wasn't for Geordie doing such and such, and then Geordie's like, well, yes, but it's like, oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, and it's really boring techno shit bollock crap anyway.
It is, yeah, thanks, it's only a short scene, but yeah.
And the point of this is the B-plot, and the B-plot is that Wesley has passed his exams through a combination of actual exams he's taken and credits that he's earned on the Enterprise. And therefore, all he has to do is have an oral exam, and then he gets a place in the academy. And then you've got Picard telling Riker to take shore leave So he does with Troi, who's wearing one of the shittest outfits ever.
This is a fashion shitfest, this episode.
It's awful!
Right at the start, we've got this Beta's head guy who looks like he's wearing a toga.
He does.
Toga, 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 toga,
Actually, what it looks like is he's got a picnic blanket and made a toga out of it. It doesn't even look like it's properly a toga.
Yeah, and then you get what Troi and Riker are wearing on the planet.
But Troy's is the absolute
It is the worst. It's like, a 3-year-old girl's idea of a nice outfit. It's just horrible.
Fucking awful.
All pink and fluffy and...
with a massive bow.
And half of her shoulder sticking out for no apparent reason. It's just weird.
And it doesn't even fit her.
And it doesn't look the slightest bit flattering. It's
no, in no way, shape or form.
Dear.
It's just atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Then they reminiscing Troi and Riker, and then they come across some flower that sort of wiggles at them and makes a noise, which is a bit odd. And then they're like, "Oh, I remember this, whatever." And then they snog, which is lovely, but it proves that Insurrection is fucking wrong. Not only is it a shit film and a crime against facial hair, where Troi says, "I've never kissed you in the beard before," she's fucking lying because they kiss.
Yeah.
And it makes me very cross that they never make anything of this. They never put it in the continuity. They never let the relationship develop when it clearly should. It makes me very angry. But the actual scene with them kissing is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame about their outfits. So, yes. Anyway, sorry about the rant. But we had to watch Insurrection recently for the Black Dog.
Yes, it's the Black Dog's fault.
Anyway, they have a lovely kiss and it's really nice and sweet. And then Luoxana's there and they can hear her voice.
Yeah.
And she's spreading out a picnic blanket. She's wearing a fucking awful outfit with sequins all over her tits.
She does have previous awful outfits, so that's fair enough. But you did kind of think that Troi probably should have had more taste than that. So
Yeah. So, anyway, she then sends Mr. Hom off to get Utaberries, whatever they are. And then she, starts talking to Deanna. And then the next thing you know, Damon Togg appears and basically kidnaps the three of them.
Yeah. There's a bit where Mr. Hom comes back and they've gone and he's look on his face.
What? So they wake up in a holding cell and slowly regain consciousness. So Damon Togg wants the women, so he beams them through without clothing.
Yes, naked Troi. Woohoo!
Right.
It's Deanna I'm talking about here, I hasten to add.
Yeah. Now, it has to be said that is continuity that plays out in the rest of Star Trek's run. Because later on in Deep Space Nine, you get Nog and Quark's mum fighting for the right for females to wear clothing.
Yes. That bit plays out. What has started in this that wasn't the case before was the fact that Betazoids can't read Ferengi's thoughts, which Troi has always been able to do in the past, or at least picks up on their emotions, whereas in this one we're suddenly told that they can't, which then becomes canon from the here on inwards. But
yeah. Do they ever do anything about how empaths can read Ferengi emotions? It's just that the telepaths can't read their mind. It would be a way to retcon it. And I just wondered if they'd done it.
It'd be very easy to have done, but they never did.
No. You also get continuity errors between Beta Z and Beta Zoid.
Yeah.
Later on, Beta Z is the planet and Beta Zoid is the race. But in this one, on a number of occasions, different characters refer to the race as Beta Z.
Zoid.
Zoid.
It annoys me you could do that better than I can.
Really?
I'm envious of your Zoidberg impression. But anyway, move on.
Sorry, it's the only impression I can do better than you. I wouldn't worry about that.
I don't know, you do a much better donkey than me. I'm in trouble now. Oh dear. Moving on.
Yes. The next comment I have in my notes is that when Luoxana and Troi each grab a sheet to wear, that looks better than Troy's outfit.
Yes, they're not particularly attractive sheets either.
No, they're not, but it still looks better than her bloody outfit.
Yeah.
Luoxana sort of is going to be talking to the daemon, and so Deanna gets being back down to be with Riker. And it's like, let us talk, and then a bed comes out. And then you've got Neelix, except it's not Neelix, it's Ferengi Neelix.
Same actor.
Ferengi Neelix is playing...
Ethan Phillips.
Right. He's playing chess badly. He was playing chess badly at the reception with the shitty alien and the crappy wind chimes. And Riker beat him then.
That's a different Ferengi.
There's a third Ferengi?
Yes, there is a third Ferengi with 4 Ferengis, but one of them's non-speaking.
Oh, alright then, it's another Ferengi. Anyway, he's shit at chess. And Riker sort of starts off beating him and then doesn't. Then he says, well, it's because I can't see the board. And then the Ferengi's like, oh, I know you're cunning. You're going to get me to get you come out here. And he's like, yeah, and I do what? And the Ferengi's like, oh, yeah, you got a point. Comes out, and then bye-bye, Ferengi.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the episode that sort of seals the Ferengi's fate as the most stupidest race in the universe as far as Next Generation is concerned. And then Deep Space Nine manages to roll back a bit more respect for them. But
well, no, there's that episode in Deep Space Nine, and I can't remember its name, but it's got the baddie in it. The Ferengi baddie, as in Quark's enemy. And they all have
Liquidator
to take...
Brunt.
That's it. And they all have to take somebody on and, like, kind of be superheroes.
Yeah.
And it does...
Magnificent Ferengi, I think. That was
called. Right. Well, that episode actually does play on what happened, the sort of thing that happens in this one.
I mean, the bottom line is that Next Gen don't feature the Ferengi quite so often. So when they do feature them, they tend to be, these sort of comic reliefy role. Yeah. Whereas because you saw so much more of them in Deep Space Nine, you could see actually there was more to them than that. So it's just a matter of using them more. Yeah,
but they were never good. They aren't warriors. They're connivers.
No, but they're not stupid generally, unlike this idiot.
Yeah, but then you do get some Ferengi later on in DS9 who are stupid.
Yeah. This one's clearly the shallow end of the gene pool. Isn't he?
Basically. But then the guy who's Daemon Togg isn't very clever, because it's very soon that the roles have been reversed and Luoxana has managed to seduce this guy because accidentally she discovers Umox.
Umox! Yes, the origin of Umox in this as well, yeah.
Which is the Ferengi ears in the erogenous zone, and which is logical given the size of their ears and everything else. Yeah, it works. And because for her the ear isn't particularly erogenous, she doesn't have a problem with giving this Ferengi Umox. She doesn't feel...
Well, to begin with, she doesn't realise that's what she's doing, to be fair.
But even after she knows, you can tell that she thinks, no, that's all right, I can deal with this. And then, straight away, you're like, yeah, that's why, okay, maybe the Sacred Chalice of Reeks is only a mouldy old clay pot, but this is why she's an important Betazoid. She can handle herself. Do you know what I mean? She's actually isn't that long before she's not really in any danger anymore.
And there's nice to and fro between her and Troi. It's normally the pair of them are bickering quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of that in this, but actually, particularly once they get kidnapped, they're using their telepathy to sort of work out a plan and stuff. And it works out really nicely, actually.
It does, and it's
sweet.
It's nicely done, but also it's realistically done, because most families in a crisis would be there for each other, even if when there isn't a crisis they might want to slap each other. And so it's realistic in that respect. So it isn't too long before Luoxana has really got the daemon under her thumb, and then they're like, we need the access codes, because by this point Riker and Troi are trying to send a message to the Enterprise, but they can't get past the access codes, and the daemon very nearly gives the access code. In fact, he gives part of it. And then not Neelix comes in and says, but you nearly gave away the access code, how dare you? And, I should be the daemon, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, no, but I was only going to get him a drink. But he's not falling for it in the same way as the daemon did. So the next thing you know, you've got Luoxana's strapped to this table, suffering the mind probe.
Commander, you are authorized to use the mind probe.
What? No, not the mind probe.
Not the mind probe.
And if you've no idea what that's a reference to, you really need to see the 5 Doctors.
You do. And then it's affecting Troi as well, because she's aware through their telepathic link. and presumably because also she's an empath, of her mother's pain. But then Riker works out that he can use the static in a minor system to send a message to the Enterprise. When you get Wesley, who's supposed to be going aboard this Bradbury ship thing for his oral exam and everything, but he hasn't. He keeps delaying because, he doesn't want to say goodbye to the Enterprise. Aww. Because the Enterprise has been looking at this lovely purple thing. I don't know what the fuck it was. I suppose I should have written it down, but I didn't because I couldn't be arsed. It was technobabble.
It's a big energy thing of some sort. But...
I don't know, but Data starts giving off statistics, and then Picard goes, but it doesn't take away the wonder. And they look, and it's purple! And it's like, well, no wonder you're impressed, Picard. Fair enough. You're just looking and enjoying the beauty of purple. I've got no problems there. That's nice. That's good. Anyway, the problem with the beauty of purple is that it affected their communicators, so they didn't know that there was anything wrong, and they assumed that Riker, Troi and Lwaxana were still on Beta Z, and then the bad blanket toga wearing man gets in contact to say they've disappeared. So they beam down to Beta Z and they find the manky, and I mean seriously manky flowers that the Daemon tried to offer Lwaxana, and it's like, they come from a Ferengi planet. So they know who's got them, but they haven't yet found them. And then Wesley is just about to leave for his oral exam, and he's like, hang on a minute, there's something in that subspace static stuff. And he can't quite work it out, and then he comes back on the bridge because he's worked it out. He's like, that's the shitty wind chimes. That's not actually what he says, but it's the shitty wind chimes. That's where they are. We can pinpoint them, and we can rescue them. But it means he misses his flight, so to speak. So we can't now go and take his exam. Oh. But when they get there, by this time, Lwaxana's already got the upper hand. She's already bargained for Riker and Troi to be released, and she says she willingly gives herself and gives her word and whatever. And you just know she knows what she's doing. She's not really in any danger at all. Riker and Troi get beamed back, and then they signal to Picard to cut the view screen. And Deanna's like, she is in danger, but I know what she's doing. She's got to get you, Picard, to win her back. And initially, Picard stumbles, and then he starts quoting Shakespeare.
My love is a fever, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease.
Tell me more.
In faith, I do not love thee with mine eyes, for they in thee 1,000 errors see, but 'tis my heart that loves what they despise, who, in despite of view, art pleased to dote. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate.
And this has become quite a meme.
It has.
The image of him proclaiming supposedly his love in the words of Shakespeare. I must admit, this just makes me cringe, this scene, but there you go, always has done.
It makes me laugh, because I know what he's doing.
It's embarrassing.
It makes me laugh, I've got no problem with it, until the Daemon releases Troi because he falls for it, and then she's in his lap, then I cringe. Mm-hmm. When it's just him quoting Shakespeare, you get the sense that the actor's having fun, but also the character of Picard by this time is having fun, because actually they do establish that Picard likes Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And so you just think he's having a laugh, and he's just quoting some lines, and he's fine. So I quite like it until she ends up in his lap, and then I don't. So there we are, everybody's safe. And then the Daemon's like, oh, you're not going to say this to anyone, are you? And then Picard's like, we'll see about that. And that's all you get, which is a bit shit, really, to be honest. And then you get the whole, when I look at your record, Wesley, you've got to wait another year before you apply to the academy, and that doesn't seem right to me. So he gets a battlefield commission at Benson.
And he's finally out of that ill-fitting grey outfit.
Yeah, and into a proper uniform.
Which is, hooray, somebody's looking smart. And then they pan across the bridge and you see Troi in a lilac monstrosity. Ah!
It's not nice, is it?
No. It's what were they thinking? And sadly, that crops up quite a bit.
Well, the thing is, it's not lilac, just. I mean, the reason you notice the lilac is that's the bit by the boobs.
Oh, right.
The rest of it's grey. It's almost as though somebody has a grey fetish. And because Wesley isn't wearing grey anymore, Deanna has to.
It's grim.
That people have to wear grey. And I have to say, when I first watched this bit with Wesley getting his Battlefield commission, it made me angry and cross and I didn't like it. But it has to be said that watching it now, when you think of the difference he made in that particular mission and everything else, and given that I now know more about the difference between a full commission and a Battlefield commission, I actually think that it makes sense. And that actually Picard is not being unnecessarily nice and sweet to Wesley. He's actually genuinely recognising Wesley's gifts to the Enterprise and giving them the recognition that they're due. So now that I suppose I'm less annoyed by Wesley than I used to be, I don't find it annoying at all. It makes sense. However cheesy you might find the whole let's pan up his legs and see he's wearing a proper uniform and oh look, his mummy's smiling. Forget that. It's actually logical. In fact, it makes far more sense that in Voyager, the guy who stayed an ensign the entire time when he clearly earned at least Battlefield commission to higher rank.
Kim, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
That made no sense, him staying an ensign the entire time at all. This makes much more sense. Battlefield commission to ensign, yeah, particularly given that it was him, he was willing to sacrifice going to the academy to save Riker, and B, it was him that spotted it. It's logical. So this episode overall did not annoy me, was not as bad as I remembered it being. But I think a lot of it is actually that things that might have annoyed me on first viewing, because I'm a fan of Deep Space Nine, and a lot of it is continued, like the fact that females wear no clothing, like Umax and everything else. I think I'm reading that into it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm viewing it differently than I did the first time I watched it. Mm-hmm. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I mean it's got some great lines in it. I think that's what really saves it. I mean it's a bit of a silly plot, but I mean it's good fun. It makes me laugh. Yeah, there's a great bit near the start where Picard's trying to get away from Loaxana, and he says, sorry, we've got to leave. We've got to inspect the new door mechanisms," which is really good.
The aft turbo lift, yes.
Which is quite good. And then when Troy's telling Worf about how Loaxana stood up to the Ferengi,
yes,
when he initially tries to come onto her, and Worf said,
Damon Togg has returned to his vessel, and the Ferengi have left orbit.
My mother will be relieved.
I hear she handled the situation quite skillfully. An admirable woman.
I'll be sure to tell her you said so.
So yeah, there's some nice lines. It's obviously, mostly played for laughs, jolly stuff. The Ferengi get a little more fleshed out in this than they have done previously.
I think that might be why it didn't annoy me as much, because actually these Ferengi, yes, one of them at least is a complete twonk, but could be transposed to Deep Space Nine, couldn't they? And as long as Quark treats the idiot like an idiot, it would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so no, a fun episode after quite a heavy, emotionally charged episode. Actually, that you could see why they put that in that slot, can't you? Really?
Yeah.
So good stuff. Shall we find out what Mr. Pieman thinks?
Yes.
This was another good, fun episode. Perhaps not great, but generally fun. Not much meat to the episode, mind you, but it is an entertaining 45 minutes of television. Particularly fun is the ending where Picard has to act the jealous lover.
Yeah.
Any opportunities for Shakespeare? I'd better not mention Naked Troi, though. That might get me in trouble. Whoops. Yes. Overall, 2 good episodes, but of course we have the Granddaddy next time. Oh, yes. We do indeed. Thanks, Mr. Pieman, for nicely linking us into next time's episodes. Now, we're going to be covering next time the last 2 episodes of Season 3, which means Transfigurations.
Is that the one with the yellow blob man?
Yes, he becomes Yellow Blob Man. That's going to spoil that episode already. Well done. And Best of Both Worlds Part 1.
Bagsy.
Bam, bam, bam. That's fine, actually, because you know what I realised in hurriedly making notes today was actually... It's actually a lot nicer when you're not the one covering that episode, because you can sit back and enjoy it, actually. So, yes, I'm going to sit back and enjoy Best of Both Worlds while you hurriedly make notes.
I don't make that many. I have a better memory than you.
Yes, I am feeble memory man. So there we go, folks. You have plenty of time to get us some feedback if you'd like to, which would be wonderful, considering, particularly with Best of Both Worlds, how iconic that particular episode is. It would be great to hear how you you took the cliffhanger, if indeed you were somebody who experienced it as just one part and then had to wait for the second one. Unlike,
yes, particularly, yeah.
I think I had to wait because I bought it as it came out on video, and you had Transfigurations and Best of Both Worlds Part 1 on one video, and then I had to wait a couple of months, I think, before Best of Both Worlds. So I didn't have to wait as long as some, but I did still have to wait. Yes, so please do feel free to give us some feedback. We won't be recording that one, though, till February the 8th, Friday, February the 8th. And the reason is I'm off to Africa for a bit, as you do. So I'll be away for a few weeks. So, as I say, plenty of time to get your feedback into the usual places, the Geek Planet online forums, Twitter, although I won't be on that very much, so probably be better if you tweet Anne-Marie, if anybody. Ammo_purple.
Yep, and if you use the hashtag bOrgCast, I will pick it up.
Ooh, clever stuff. Or you can put something on our Tumblr site. I will be seeing that, and that's bOrgCast.tumblr.com. Or you can send us an email, either your thoughts or send us an MP3, revpeterorgan@yahoo.co.uk.
And we really would like to hear from people. So if you're somebody who normally posts the odd bit here and there on Tumblr, if you post feedback for this, we will read it out in full, unless you tell us otherwise.
Yes. So there we go, folks. 2 rather excellent episodes this time, and I think we've got another 2 good episodes to look forward to, which is splendid stuff.
I didn't like Transfiguration when I saw it first time.
Oh, well, we'll see if your opinion has changed.
We can do.
Okay, folks, take care. Cheerio, bye.
Bye. The bOrgCast is brought to you by those lovely purple people at Geek Planet Online. The song at the opening of this podcast was written and performed by Adam Buxton and is used with his kind permission.